Hello everyone, the Entuity team here, and another short video. This time we are going to be talking about asset credential management. So how do we get to that specific part? So you go to the main menu, select administration, and from administration you can see you've got the asset credential management. So what is this specific part about? Well, you have a number of devices which you are monitoring stroke managing. And for these specific devices, so for example, when we want to retrieve the configuration for a device, we will need to connect via Telnet or SSH. Typically, we would enter a set of details which you use commonly against all the other devices. So this is where you would add them. Another scenario could be is that we are monitoring a server from an OS perspective. And again, you need to connect to that device, whether you do it via SSH or just provide username and password. You'd manage all that information at the Asset Credential Management page. Also, and the most common use case, of course, is when we're doing network monitoring, we need to add the SNMP details, whether it's version 2, C, or 3, so that we can use them across a variety of different devices rather than individually adding them all the time. Okay, so let's do a couple of examples of that. So we're going to create a credential, and what should we do it for? We've already got some here, as I said before, so let's do one for config management, even though we've got one, but I'm just going to add a second one. So I'm going to do config management 2, and I will say, yes, its description is for config management. The credential type, so I select now config management. And it says the access method. What do you want to use to connect? So you've got SSH or Telnet, other options, and you just add your username and password here. So I'm just going to make a fictitious one up. So operations, and password is operations as well. And password 2 is like when you have enabled 10, enabled 15, the different levels that it's asking for there. So I've got config management there, so I'm selecting done. And as you can see, that credential set has now appeared, config management number 2. Description is for config management. The type, you can see all the different options here. You see we've already got one for config management, and it's saying for usages for HQ1 and more. So now I'll go to my assets. So if I go to my assets here, there's a list of all my assets. And I will say for this particular device, it may have already been added, but we can modify it. So I'm going to modify the asset. And here I've got all the information regarding the asset. So for config management, it's not enabled. So I'm going to go and enable it. Yes. Now it's saying, what's the credential set that you want to use? So I've got the credential set, and I want to say I want to use a shared credential set. And because we have set it for config management, it selected the 2 that we have in the Asset Credential Management dashboard. So I'm going to select this one because that's the one I want to select. And there you go. My config management is now selected. So I've done that individually, but of course you could do that for a number of devices as well if you want. So that's for config management. So you can see it's successfully added it. And by the same token, if you want to create a credential set for example, SNMP, so I'll just create something called LAN2, SNMP details, and you can give it V2. It's asking you for community string. And if you do V3, it'll ask you a different set of questions. So what's the username, what authentication type that you are using, the encryption type that you are using, if that is relevant or valid in that particular case. So hopefully that gives you a bit more insight now of what we use the asset credential management for. Hope you enjoyed that.